Have you ever been lost or been searching for something only to realise that the thing you'd lost or the thing that you were searching for wasn't actually lost, it was there all along, you were just looking in the wrong place? You ever had that? When I was 22, I was still living at home. My dad went on a holiday over New Year's. And so my brother, who's a couple of years younger than me, we decided that we'd do what any 20 and 22-year-old would do when their dad's away for New Year's. We would have a New Year's Eve party at our house. And we would open our house and, 30, 40 people showed up for New Year's. And it was all pretty tame as New Year's Eve parties goes, nothing like wildly out of hand. It all went pretty well. And it was sort of 2 a.m. and I was sort of getting to the end of cleaning up the dishes and the vomit, and it was all fine at that point. And then the phone rang about 2 a.m. Now, remember, I'm old, so when the phones ring at 2 a.m, it's not a mobile in my pocket. It's one of those rotary phone things on the wall, right? Ring, 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 real loud in the whole house. And there's a bunch of people who had crashed at the house on beanbags and couches and whatever. And the phone rings at 2 a.m. and of course, in rotary phones, you can't tell who does. So I pick up the phone. Hello, who's this? And it's Mandy's mum. Now, Mandy was a friend of ours. She's a beautiful girl, but a kind of a quiet girl. And the whole New Year's Eve party wasn't really her sort of thing. And so literally at the stroke of midnight, after, we pulled the firecrackers and everyone hugged everyone and whatever, Mandy said, look, I'm pretty tired. I'm going to head home. And Mandy couldn't drive. And so another friend of mine, Bruce, he's pretty tired too. And I said to him, hey, and they both lived only about 7 minutes from my house. And I said, hey, Bruce, Mandy, I know you don't know her too well, but she only lives like a couple of minutes from you. She wants to go home too. Would you mind dropping her home? At like 4 minutes past 12, she lives like 7 minutes away, and her mum's ringing me at 2 a.m. saying, hey, where's Mandy? Is she coming home soon? We're just a little worried, even for a New Year's Eve party. 2 o'clock seems a little late. And I try and sound pretty casual to Mandy's mum on the phone, but inside I'm like panicking because Mandy's not the kind of person who went home and then went, hey, you know what, I'm going to get a taxi and go out. That was not Mandy. And like I said, it's 7 minutes from my house to hers, and she left my house at like 12:04. So I panic. I get in my car and I drive to Bruce's house by this time it's after 2 a.m. I hop his back fence because I don't want to try and wake up his family. I hop his back fence, go around to his house, and I'm knocking on the window, right, at 2 a.m, scare everything out of him, right? He wakes up to some dude knocking on the door. Bruce. I say, Bruce, where's Mandy? And he's like, what? I'm like, where's Mandy? And he's like, I dropped her home at like 10 past 12. And I'm like, this is bad, right? I'm like, where is she? And so I figured I have to do the only thing I can do. I have to drive around to Mandy's house and I have to tell her parents the truth, like she was dropped home at 10 past 12 and we've got no idea where your daughter is. Like, yee. And so I'm driving, and of course I'm driving and looking, every public park I go past, every random walking on the street, I'm slowing down like a total stalker, checking out if it's Mandy and whatever. Anyway, I get to her house. Both her parents are up. They're like, they're like peak awake, kind of panicking a little too. And I just tell them the truth. I say, look, Mandy actually left her house like right on midnight, dropped home by a friend. I've been to the friend. Oh, by the way, the friend's mother did wake up. So she's in her car. She's got Bruce in his car. They're both driving independently all around the suburb looking for Mandy. And so I'm telling Mandy's parents this, and I kid you not, Mandy's mum goes, oh, she got home at 10 past 12? Oh, we didn't get home till 12:30. I'll just check her bedroom. This is the truth. They go to Mandy's bedroom. She's fast asleep in bed. They just never imagined that their teenage daughter would have got home before them on New Year's Eve, never checked the bedroom. So now I've got Bruce and his mother like panicking, driving around the suburbs, and no mobiles, right? I can't find them. So I got to spend the next half an hour driving around the suburb to find them, right, to tell them it's all good. Mandy's at home in bed. Mandy had no idea what had gone on for the night. We couldn't find Mandy. We were searching for Mandy, but Mandy was never lost. We were just looking in the wrong place. And I've been thinking, kind of around that story came back to me. I was thinking about Christmas because it's so easy, isn't it, in life? It's so easy to be lost or to be searching for something and to not realise that the thing that you're searching for, the thing that you're looking for, is actually not lost. You're just not looking in the right place for that thing. And we're talking about lost, like the last 2 weeks, stuff that's happened in Bondi and whatever, like I don't know about you, but it just reminds me, there's a lot of lostness in our world, right? And there's a lot of people looking for answers in the middle of that lostness. And lots of people, they look at a story, they look at the images coming out of Bondi and they're asking questions like, how do we get here? Like as a society, how do we find ourselves in a place where this sort of thing happens in our country? We hear about that, it happens. How does that happen here? How do we stop things like that happening in our country? And I'm sure you have heard me, like me, have heard so many people kind of looking for a solution. And lots of people kind of, their idea of a solution is blame, right? And so there's lots of people looking at our government and saying, our government did the wrong thing and they should have done this or that. And there's other people who want to blame past governments and, who was the government who let that guy into the country? And who was the government who gave that guy a gun license? And there's other people who are blaming overseas governments for stuff that's going on over there that has sort of infected or changed people's minds in this country. And people want to know, how can we fix this mess? Who's going to fix this mess? Is this is our government going to fix this mess? Is someone else's government going to fix this mess? Who do we, as a society, as people, who do we turn to when something like this happens? And of course, the reality is it's not just Bondi, is it? Our world's messed up in so many ways. And even if Bondi doesn't happen, mental health problems are just exploding in this country in a way that is really scary, especially amongst young people. And you don't need me to tell you, social media's gone crazy, and so the government's gone and, put in a ban in place to try and sort of manage that. And is that going to work? No one really knows. They're, kind of having a go to see if that will work. And we still can't even work out exactly what is the environmental disaster that's getting worse year by year. We know stuff's going bad, but no one can even agree what the problem is, let alone what the solution is in that space. And now people are telling us that it doesn't matter anyway because AI is going to have all of our jobs very shortly. And, there's all this stuff happening. And people are asking more than ever before, where's the world headed? How do we get a handle on all the stuff that seems to be going wrong, all the lostness and the mess and the chaos and all of that stuff that's happening in the world? And people find themselves asking this question, who'll save us out of this? If we elect a new Prime Minister, will that actually fix the problem? If the US can get a president with half a brain, would that fix the problem? You know what I mean? Is it what is there and who is there that can truly fix things that are going on around us? And that made me think of that story in my New Year's Eve all those years ago that maybe I was driving around randomly trying to find Mandy on New Year's Eve. Maybe we're all looking in the wrong place. Maybe we shouldn't be looking to what the government's going to do. Maybe we shouldn't be looking to some better technology that's going to solve our problems, or some new piece of science, or some wonder drug, or maybe the answer's been there all along. We've just been looking in the wrong place. We've been talking about the Christmas story in the last little bit, and the Christmas story reminds us that there is an answer to these seemingly sort of unanswerable questions in life. There is a solution, and the Christian church would say there is someone who can save us. It's just that many of us are not looking in the right place. So we've been digging into Christmas story over the last couple of weeks. We've been looking at some of the details around a story and trying to help us understand that the whole Christmas story thing is not just a cute story. The Christmas story is a story about a God who sees the lostness and the mess of humanity and comes to earth in human form to do something about it. That's fundamentally what the Christmas story is about. That's why we celebrate this thing. The Christmas story is the story of a God who created the whole world coming close. Yeah. Coming close again to humanity, coming close again to people, and even today coming close again to you. That's actually why we celebrate Christmas, because people are excited that Jesus, that the Saviour of the world, would come close to me and would come close to you. There are 4 biographies of the life of Jesus. You know the names of them. They're written by 4 different authors. They're written by Matthew and Mark and Luke and John. They're 4 books in the Bible. You can find them easy in any Bible you pick up. And Matthew and Luke are the 2 guys who in their biography tell what you know of as the classic Christmas story. You know, the one with the shepherds and the angels and the wise men and the star and Bethlehem and Mary and Joseph and all of that. John was one of the other guys who wrote a biography of Jesus, and he actually also tells the story of Jesus' birth, but in a really different way. Not in the classic way that you know, not in the way that you see in shop windows. I'll read to you, this is the way that John, and it's the very opening of his biography, this is the way that he describes the birth of Jesus. He says, "In the beginning was the Word." Now, the word is not like a word in our dictionary. The word in this context is another name for Jesus, right? So in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him, all things were made. Without him, nothing was made that had been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John begins the story of Jesus by telling us that actually Christmas is not the beginning of Jesus. That Jesus wasn't created at Christmas. Jesus has always existed. That's why he starts with "in the beginning." That is a hyperlink to the very first words in the whole Bible. Back Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 begins with the same words "in the beginning." You're supposed to read that and go, right, John's linking the beginning of Jesus with the beginning of the whole world. He's saying that nothing was, without him, nothing was made that has been made. He says, in him was life. He's saying that Jesus was there when the world was created because Jesus was the creator of the world, right? He says the light shines in the darkness hasn't overcome it. Jesus, he says, is this sort of picture that Jesus is the light of all humanity. What he means is a bit like the sun keeps the world alive, the plants and the animals and all. He's saying like Jesus is like that for the whole world. Like he's the light really that keeps everything going, that is the source of all life and all energy on the planet. That is actually Jesus. He says the light shines in the darkness, and we need to hear this for what's going on in our world today. John wants the world to know that no matter how dark things get, no matter how dark your world gets, no matter how bad things go in the news, the darkness cannot overcome the light. There is no darkness that can overcome the light that is Jesus. Now, if you jump down to, in the same chapter, jump down to verse 14, here's the bit that should really blow your minds when he says, the Word, again talking about Jesus, the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. He's saying Christmas is the celebration of that Jesus, that Jesus that was there at the beginning of time, that created all things, that is the sustainer of all life, that is the energy behind all life. That Jesus came to earth, came to dwell among us. The language is it's sort of best summed up maybe by saying it's like saying Jesus moved into your neighbourhood. Right? Came to dwell among us, came to be local to where we are. Christmas is the essence of all life moving into your neighbourhood. It's the light that shines in the darkness, coming close to all humanity. But the way John writes this, he's writing it in a way that is saying it come close to you. It's a personal letter. You're supposed to read that. It's not that he came close to someone else or came close somewhere. It's not physically where he was born. It's saying that he came close to you wherever you are. That's the real story of Christmas. Christmas is God saying, I love the world so much. I can't bear to see humanity the way it is. It breaks my heart to be separated from the people that I created. And so something has to change. I will come to the earth in person to fix things, to change things, to be that solution, the word that Matthew and Luke use in their story of the birth is the Saviour, the one who will come to set things right. And you don't need me to tell you, but many of us are still living like I was 30 years ago on New Year's Eve. We're kind of driving around desperately looking for an answer. You know, we're lost, we're scared, we're confused, we're not sure what's going to happen next. We know we're looking for somebody, for something, for someone. Some of us aren't even sure who we're looking for. We don't know where we should be looking. And life is just this kind of random drive, just hoping that we'll find something that will make sense of life, hoping that we'll find the key, but we don't know what the key is that will make life work for us, that will make us happy, that will give us energy, that will give us meaning and purpose, that when things like Bondi happen will help us make sense of that, will help us find peace in that. And we'll search everywhere that we can to try and find an answer, right? And we live in a world where lots of people are still hoping that enough money and enough stuff will solve that problem. I mean, even though everyone knows that money doesn't solve your problems, right? But let's be honest. Everyone has this secret thought that says, but if I get lots of money, I'd like to test that theory. Don't you all have that thought? You know, when everyone says, winning $10 million will ruin your life, and you're like, try me. Just you know, I bet I can prove that wrong. Give me $10 million. You know, everyone, we all know that money and stuff aren't the solution, but we secretly still try and get money and stuff just in case it can help us out some. We search for it in family and friends. Maybe if I can get the right relationships around me and get my relationships all happening right, get all my kids lined up and get my parents happy, and you know, maybe if we get all of that stuff done, maybe if I can get the perfect group of friends together, maybe that will do it for me. Maybe that's the answer. People try success and fame and influence. I mean, who don't want to be famous, right? Except that then you look and more celebrities seem to be more unhappy than we are, right? You know, all the people with all the money, they're on the front page of the newspaper with more life problems than you and I have. right? But at the same time, we kind of go, well, we know that they have the same problems we do, yet we still so often wish that we could have some of that, that we could have some of the things that come with being famous and influential and important in the world. And it was really popular at the moment because we know all of those things don't work. So we have this clever thing at the moment where we talk about having a perfect life, right? And what that means is I don't want $10 million. I don't want to be super rich. I just want a little bit of everything. If I can just get enough money to be comfortable, and if the family's just good enough, and I don't need to be super rich and famous, but if I can just be successful enough in my job, if you can get just a little bit of everything without being greedy for anything, then maybe you could have the perfect life and everything would work out okay for you. And I want to suggest to you this Christmas that maybe we're just not looking in the right place. When that baby in the manger grows up, he will say this to people who will gather around him. He will say, "Come to me, all you who are weary and carry heavy burdens." If that's you, listen to these words Jesus says. If that's you, come to me and I will give you rest. Now, he's not talking about rest as in a holiday and you won't need to do work. He's talking about something much more important than that. This word for rest is talking about the kind of rest that is deep inside us, more like we would use the word peace and contentment. Okay, so it's not like rest like a holiday on the beach. It's rest like just that deep sense of something inside you that says, it's okay. Come to me, Jesus says, anyone who's weary and carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you that sense of rest. He will say, anyone who's thirsty, and he's not talking about water. Anyone who's thirsty, come to me. Anyone who believes in me may come and drink, for the scriptures declare that rivers of living water will flow from their heart. In other words, he will satisfy your thirst not from the outside but from the inside. Do you get the language there? That the rivers of living water will flow from your heart. In other words, they're coming from the inside out. You drink, it's the outside in. But he's saying that if you're thirsty and will come for me, something will well up from inside you. That will flow out of you. In other words, it will fill you up and overflow from you. He will use a similar sort of analogy when he will say, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never be hungry again. Again, he's not talking about literal bread and literal hunger. He's talking about something deeper than that. He's saying, whoever believes in me will never be thirsty. He's saying, come to me and I will satisfy those things deep inside you. Kind of satisfaction that you'll never get from money and you'll never get from a job and you'll never get from a holiday, that you'll never even get from a perfect spouse and beautiful kids. It's something far deeper than that. Come to me, I am the source of that. He will say on another day simply, I am the way and the truth and the life. This is a way of sort of saying, I am everything. However you sort of cut way and truth being that sense of knowledge and reason and understanding in the world, life. He's saying all of that is found in me. Wholeness and fullness is found in me. If you're looking for any of that, come to me. I am the ultimate source of all that. In other words, he's saying, if you're looking for your best life, if you're looking if you're looking for a solution to those sort of problems, if you look at things that are happening in Bondi, if you look at things that are happening on the news, if you're worried about what's happening in social media and AI and any of that, however that stuff plays out in your heart and in your mind, whatever you're looking for, in response to that and as a solution to that, it will be found in me, says Jesus. Come to me in any of that. Jesus is the celebration of that coming to earth. Now, I mean, you know this, but I'll tell you anyway. I mean, Jesus is not promising a perfect life when he says these things to people, right? He's not saying, come to me and you'll have, a limitless bank account and your kids will never do anything wrong. He's not talking about that. What Jesus is promising is that in the middle of those things, you will never be alone. In the middle of whatever comes your way, you will never have to tackle those things alone. You will never have to look at the next horrible news headline, because there will be another one. You will never have to look at the next horrible news headline and say, what now? Because you'll never be alone in those moments. He's offering peace in the middle of chaos. He's offering light when the world seems dark. He's offering to make you rich and full regardless of what your bank account says, right? Regardless of that kind of rich. He's offering you a different kind of richness. He's offering you joy regardless of the circumstances. He's offering you meaning and purpose and hope in life that you'll never get from a job promotion or a happy marriage or any of those sorts of things. He's offering you something far deeper and far more important and satisfying than that. Jesus is promising to be close to you whatever happens in the world. And Jesus is offering you forgiveness from sin. Now, sin's a word the Bible uses to describe the sort of mess that I was talking about at the beginning of this message, right? All of that stuff is what the Bible calls sin. Sin is a description for the mess and the failure and the mistakes that we do, that you and I do, because we all, we do those things that we're not proud of, things that we wish we could have back, things that we do that hurt other people and that don't honour ourselves. That is all sort of under what the Bible calls sin. But sin is also a description for those things that other people do that hurt you. The things that other people say that scar you, the things that other people do that hurt you, all of those things are also sin. And then sin is also a description the Bible uses for those things that aren't anyone's specific fault. They just happen because the world's messed up, right? There's stuff that happens around us, stuff that you see in the news, stuff that happens in your life, and you can't actually say, well, it was definitely me or it was definitely her, but it just happens, right? And the Bible draws a circle around all of that pain and all of that mess and all of that hurt and calls it sin. And Jesus is offering, God is offering in the person of Jesus forgiveness and freedom from all of that. Jesus' life and death and resurrection promises freedom from sin. And Jesus is offering that kind of life and that kind of freedom forever, even after you die in this life. He's offering you something that is the only thing that is truly permanent, because you'll know, like at the end of the day, no matter how good your relationships are, no matter how big the bank balance is or good the job is, all of those things end at some point. Jesus is offering you the only satisfying thing that would never end. He says life with me is something that will never end, that you can enjoy this deep sense of satisfaction and contentment and joy and peace forever. Forever in this life and in whatever happens, and in the life that happens after this life. So I'm saying all this to say, friends, this is the real story of Christmas. Right? And I'm saying this because as neat as the nativity scene is, and as nice as it is to stick it up in your window and draw it on Christmas cards and whatever, it's not the whole story. Right? This is the whole story. This is why God came, and this is why we celebrate. We don't celebrate it because, like, the sheep were cute, right? We're not celebrating the wise men because they looked good. We're celebrating the baby because the baby provides this to humanity. The baby provides this to you and me. This is what Christmas is. This is why we celebrate Christmas. And when I say celebrate, as in like party celebrate, this is why we sing a song like we sang tonight, Joy to the World, because you're supposed to look at this stuff, Jesus says, and get excited, right? You're supposed to look at this stuff and think, this is good news. When I look at this compared to Bondi, when I look at this compared to what's happening in the rest of the world, when I look at this compared to what's happening in politics, this is the good news. This is the thing that brings me hope and joy and peace and meaning and purpose. We just have to start looking in the right place.